All right, we're going to open 2022 spring drills up for questions. Front row left, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Hi, Brian. Offensively, what's the biggest thing that you're curious about this spring? Is it finding a solidified five on your offensive line, or is it something else? What are you most curious about offensively?
I mean, everybody's out there working and trying to improve and get going. Like you said, finding that the chemistry up front. It isn't just finding five. You want to find 6 or 7 guys that you can play, because things happen just like last year. Certainly tight end is something that's of a concern for us, just because there's not a lot of experience there. Mitch is not practicing this spring, but he'll be back in the preseason, and that'll be good to have a veteran presence there. I think he's going to hopefully have a big impact on our offense. But replacing Ruck will be important, because we have some young guys that just haven't played a ton. But looking to see what G. Scott can do is he's put a year in, and some of the young guys are going to have to step up. So, the running back position, obviously Trey played last year, Mayan played last year. It'll be good to see Evan Pryor. He had a really good offseason, so looking forward to see him. A receiver, seeing some of these younger guys get out there. Obviously, in the Rose Bowl, we had some guys who stepped up, but trying to figure out what the depth looks like there. All these guys are going to play, and then watching the quarterbacks play, and just improve and learn and get more and more reps under their belt.
I'll ask you about Todd just real quick too. Coming back, his second year as an offensive analyst, he's got such a good resume. He's been an offensive coordinator many years. How much does he help you on that side?
I've known Ton for a long time, so his presence and his experience and friendship, quite honestly, means a lot to me. Helps in a lot of ways. Just another guy in the building that really helps in a lot of ways. Helps with the other coaches. Very, very good coach with a great background, and he's a huge asset for us.
Front row right, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Back this year, but outside of him, are the other guys how many do you feel like you can?
Yeah, we've typically played 5 or 6. Like when you think back on when Terry was here, and Paris, and Ben Austin, KJ Hill, Johnny Dixon. We've typically rolled a lot of guys, and so we like to do that. And really what you do is you try to find 1, then you try to find 2, then you try to find 3, and then you try to find 4. And as many guys that deserve to get on the field and get reps are going to get reps, and we typically like to roll those guys if we can, but they have to get out there and earn that work. We have some really intelligent guys out there. I watched Babb work out there, and he's learned a bunch of different positions. Same thing with Emeka. Julian's learned a bunch of different positions, so it's good that there's some versatility there. And we do have some decent depth out there. Some guys, even Xavier Johnson, Sam Wiglis, looking to see what Jalen Ballard can do. So some interesting guys this spring, and they're certainly going to get an opportunity to compete and just build. But this is just the start, and the way we look at it is, these 15 practices lead into preseason, and then preseason number 1 is that 16th practice, and we just keep building that body of work. So good start, but excited to go. We're going 2 days here, then we go on spring break. And these 2 practices are a little bit more of an OTA style, and then when we come back off a break, then we start to dig into the practices. And so, but this is a great week for our guys on defense to kind of dig into that, to the O-line to start to learn about some of the new techniques and ways that Coach Fry is going to be coaching those guys. So it's been a good week, but across the board, guys are going to get a lot of reps and look to improve, and the wide receiver position is certainly one of them. He just got one of the most improved awards in the offseason with Coach Marotti and his strength and conditioning staff during our Champions lunch yesterday. He was recognized in that area just for his work every day, his accountability, and just physically his physical gains. And so that's huge for him, and he's somebody that could provide a huge boost to our offense, because he does have the ability. So now it's time to go put it on the field. He's put a lot of work in these last 7 weeks.
Right next door, Joey Cochran, Columbus Dispatch.
There could be. I think he's trying to figure out how he may fit into the scheme, and we've gone back and forth on that. He may come over to tight end and do a little bit of work there. as we go. I think he's trying to figure that out still. Which side he wants to play. He certainly, I think, is wired to play defense. If you asked him what he'd like to do, it is defense. But he also wants to have a major impact on the team. And if it's on defense, then great. But I've always felt like, you want to allow the opportunity for guys to choose where they want to play, because that's when they put their whole heart into something. Like Steele Chambers made that move. That was his decision. And so I think he could be a tremendous tight end. I think he really put a lot of work in over the last year, and it's going to be up to him kind of what he feels most comfortable doing moving forward. No, probably wouldn't put a deadline on it. Even he played all year at tight end, and then in the Rose Bowl played linebacker. So he's very, very talented. Had an unbelievable offseason. Was an Iron Buckeye for us in the Champions meeting yesterday. And, he's one way or another, he's going to have an impact on this team. Yeah, so he's going to start working his way back into some drills as we get back off of spring break. And I don't know if he'll be full by the end of spring, but he's working through his rehab, and we're looking forward to getting him back into some drills as we, push in through the middle of spring.
Over here to the far right, Austin Ward, Letterman Row.
With guys like Josh or Cam Brown, what's the balance between getting fully healthy and learning a new skill?
That's what you hope for with somebody who's played a decent amount of experience. Both those guys have played in games now. So we're going to make sure that we always are on the side of getting them healthy. And there's still body reps, there's walkthroughs, there's meetings, there's opportunities for them to learn that way. And then there's all the whole preseason where we have, a bunch of time to get going in that area. So we'd love to get them on the field, but we're going to make sure that they're healthy before we do that.
Look at CJ Stroud and going into it's still pretty rare for you to have a second-year starting quarterback. Justin's was marred by some other stuff. What do you think he can get out of this that maybe you haven't got to give another quarterback?
I think you just understand at this point last year he hadn't thrown a college pass, so now he's got a whole year under his belt, and then you're kind of learning what to do, and now you kind of learn why you do it, and just a little bit more of a deeper understanding of things. There's a little bit of a Rolodex of plays under his belt. We're going to look at some new concepts too, some things that he can handle, and maybe put a little more on his plate on the line of scrimmage and different things there. So, when you think about guys who played in the NFL for 15, 20 years at quarterback, this is just year 2, and it feels great. You feel like you have a guy who's been around for a long time, and certainly here, we've only had that one other time with Justin. So it is exciting going into the season, having somebody who's played a whole year under his belt.
Second row left aisle, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, staying with quarterbacks, obviously Kyle played some last year, but I imagine you still want to see more from him, and then you have Devin coming in for the first time. How do you kind of handle the backup job? Be ready in case you need one of those guys?
Well, I was impressed with how Kyle came in today. I thought he had a good 7-on-7. He had a good approach, and kind of picked up from where he left off in the Rose Bowl practice, which was great. And then Devin, first day out here, again, I thought he handled it pretty good as well. For first day, there's a lot going on that first day. You're doing everything for the first time. So, the more reps that we can get these guys, the better they're going to be.
And you finally have returning CJ, but you have a backup who's played, unlike last year where it was maybe some scholarship guys, non-scholarship guys that have seen some action elsewhere, but to have that luxury that you have a guy who can step in, who's been on the field, what does that mean as you head forward?
Well, we haven't had that, right? We haven't had guys, we haven't had a starter who had any experience going into last year. So to have somebody who's actually been on the field and played in games and has a whole year under his belt, that's a big deal, because you can't substitute experience. And just being through a whole year, should pay dividends, and that should be, something that, we can use to our advantage. And, I think Kyle's had a good off season, so if he can kind of continue to grow as the spring goes on, that's huge for us.
Far left, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Ryan, Jerry told us Harry Miller's unavailable this spring. He's missed a lot of time in the last year. Is he able to do anything right now? And what do you forecast in terms of his ability to get back to a place where he can compete for a job?
Yeah, we have, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 guys that are unavailable this spring for different reasons, and we kind of keep it at the unavailability list. And there's different reasons for everybody, but you know, and then once we get done with the spring, we'll kind of reevaluate everybody in that area.
Over here to the far right, Rob All, Columbus Dispatch.
Brian, he knows this title, head coach of the defense. Is that just a title, or is that a new concept kind of for you as you think about it? What are you hoping?
Well, it's more just the philosophy of like, okay, you know, you are in charge of everybody over there. And he's got a kind of a little bit of an army over there. He's got his coaches, then he's got the GAs, he's got the interns, he's got the quality control guys. I mean, he's got a whole group of guys over there. And when this thing's running well, then the defense coordinator is the head coach of that group, you know, and he's great. He's been a head coach. He's done this before. He doesn't need a whole lot of direction, but he also understands that we have a culture here in place and a lot of pride in what we've done around here. So I think he's jumped right in, bought into that, but also at the same time, you know, taking this thing and run. And you can see why he's had success. He's very organized, a very good communicator, and has a really good scheme.
Cornell, Duke, smart guy.
Yep.
Maybe an odd question. Can you be too smart in football, or as a coach, overthinking things? That makes sense.
Well, I think he's very intelligent, and I love being around really smart football coaches. And really, you know, when you talk about experience and doing things over time, you learn and you grow as time goes on, and you try to figure out what that balance is of, you know, new things, whether it's special teams, offense or defense, or just doing the things that our guys know really, really well. And really good coaches can teach multiple things and scheme and plays and defenses and execute them at a high level. And that's really the work that is done during the off season, so that when you get in season, you can pull back on that. And that's really what we're doing right now. It's about the training and the meetings and utilizing the time on the field during the walkthroughs and the individual drills. And you know, to me, you know, the average coaches are the ones that just kind of, let's just get the team and try to coach it off the film. You know, I think the really seasoned good coaches do some of their best work in the meetings and walkthroughs and those type of settings.
Right in front, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Mitchell Melton working with the defensive line. Where does he fit in position now? Is it something that you just try there? Is that working?
Well, we think that his skill set allows him to do a little bit of both, so we're going to kind of cross-train him in that area. But his size and his ability to rush, you know, is going to give us some different things. And him being able to put his hand in the dirt, you know, he'll work with Larry a little bit, and he'll go over with Jim and work some at linebacker. But we're going to try to do the best we can to have as many of those kind of hybrid guys to make the defense guess a little bit and not be as predictable with the front.
How much of those things are coming now from, I guess, a fresh set of eyes and Terry? And are there other instances of that where they could look at this roster, they saw guys that were better, and they said, this is a better fit, got some new ideas?
Yeah, that's really what it is, but we've been really careful to do that because we're not on the field yet. I think that will happen organically over the next month once we get on the field, because just watching somebody on the during the workouts, you can tell some different things like we've done. Mitchell's one example of that. You know, Cade kind of fits in a little bit of that world too. But once we get on the field and these guys get a chance to see him move around, identify, diagnose, run to the football, work some of the techniques that they may need to do those job descriptions, then from there we'll kind of adjust. But we're going to start off like we do, you know, which is our base defense is, you know, 4 down and 2 linebackers and 5 DBs, and then we'll kind of grow from there once. And that's really what college coaching is. It's adapting to your personnel and trying to figure that out. And our guys are getting their arms wrapped around that now.
Back row right, Jeremy Birmingham, Letterman row.
Hey Ryan, last year, you see their staff for the academy, and it's part shoulder, and you mentioned something to do with the fact that he needed to decide if he wanted it. There's something to that effect. That he needed to decide if he wanted to take that role or be the guy. Now that he is decidedly the guy, quarterback, how do you guard against that potential complacency, knowing that he's sort of to the bench now, heading into this spring, or maybe not as much pressure on him to come out and be perfect every minute?
Yeah, I think when you dive into CJ, you realize he's highly motivated. You know, just the way he came out and played in that Rose Bowl, you can see that he comes out with the mindset that he has something to prove every day. He does. That's just the way he's wired. I think that's what gives him an opportunity to be great. Is he great yet? No, he's not, but he's on his way there. And I think it's that approach of I have to prove myself every single day. And I think that's just the way he was brought up, just the way things have happened in his life. And I expect him to be that way throughout this spring and into the preseason and then into next year because, like you said, there's still a lot to prove. And I think that's just the way he's wired, and he's very competitive in that area.
I didn't ask about Cam Martinez back catching punts a little bit. I mean, is this just a byproduct of trying to find a role for him as the secondary changes? Is it just his skill set fits there so well? I mean, what is it that you guys are looking for out of him this spring?
No, he's kind of transitioned pretty well to the nickel position, and I think that's going to be a pretty good role for him. That's a position that I think fits his skill set really well. This time of year, we're going to try everybody back there. As you know, he played offense and has really good ball skills. You saw a couple of the interceptions he had last year. I mean, that's really one of his strengths. So, we're always trying to train guys, especially in the spring, in the return area, because you can get into a season and get short in that area. So, always trying to look for guys who can do that.
Right front, Colin Gate, Rivals.
Over the course of the this offseason, have you seen kind of a different energy specifically with the linebackers, with kind of Jim Knowles and Carter? Like, or what is that?
Anytime you have a change, there's just a different approach and freshness to it. And I don't think that's anything other than just a new look and a new start. And so, anytime you're new like that, you kind of want to prove yourself and show your worth. So there's a little bit of that bounce in their step.
I'm just curious, I mean, obviously, Skill Chambers is coming into his first off-season as a linebacker. What have you seen? Does he have an increased energy? Because it seems like there's a lot to prove with kind of the full off-season training as a linebacker.
Yeah, I think the expectation is that he's going to play at a high level this year, along with the other guys who got a bunch of reps last season. When you think about the year before, when you had Pete, Tuff, Barron, and Justin, those were guys that the year before that one were okay, but then they came back in a really strong, 2020 seasons. And so 2021 season was okay, and we're hoping the 2022 season for the linebackers is going to be excellent.
Second row aisle, Doug Lamreese, Cleveland.com.
Ryan, is Paris Johnson first guy up at left tackle?
Yeah, right now. Yep.
Obviously, he has that tackle background, played inside last year. What do you think that transition will be like for him?
Yeah, we recruited him as a tackle. We always felt like he was a tackle, but to his credit, he wanted to get on the field last year and really learned a lot playing last year at guard. Just pad level, understanding calls. I mean, it's really going to pay dividends for him down the road. But now making the transition to tackle is he's played it his whole life other than last year, so it's not like it's new to him. But this will be his first time starting out there, and he's going to grab onto it, own it. I mean, his approach every day, his work ethic, all those things are really off the charts. And I know he's already started a great relationship with Justin, so this is just a start to it, and we'll kind of get an idea where we are about midway through. But he has high aspirations, and he's a high achiever. So when he sets his mind to something, it usually happens.
And we know you want your receivers to be versatile, multiple positions. Garrett Wilson, after a year in the slot, went back outside last year. Jackson this season. Stay in the slot, might go outside. How do you think that evolves?
Yeah, both. Yeah, we're gonna have to move Jackson around. That's just how it's gonna have to go. And so even last year in the bowl game, he played outside a little bit. Caught the big touchdown pass and a 2 tight end set. So he's a quick learner, and really the more, like you said, the versatile those guys are, and we can move them around, the better we're gonna be. So. I don't think there's one guy that's just learning one position. I think they're all learning multiple positions right now, which is really the way it should be done.
Is that moving guys around, especially with Jackson, is that to help just free up some other opportunities for other guys, or is that knowing every defense in the country is going to be trying to stop Jackson Smith-Njigba and you want him all over the place to make that other?
Both. Yeah, I think, but when you take away Jackson, then, we also have the run game, and then we have some other good receivers too on the outside. So that's the idea, is when you have that balance, and if we can get some play from the tight ends too, and even Trey out of the backfield in terms of the passing game. Now there's going to be some one-on-one opportunities, but there's no question there's going to be times where guys are going to try to double Jackson. We'll have to be creative in that area, but they can't do it every play, because then they have to give up some other things. And so we'll try to figure out ways to do that, and part of that is moving guys around. But another part is just, making sure that we get everybody on the field and guys are playing. And I think that's important.
Second row left, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, you mentioned, Jaden being one of the most improved guys in winter workouts. Were there some other guys who really, caught your eye with their improvement in winter workouts this year?
Yeah, I probably will forget all the guys that got recognized yesterday, but just offhand, a couple of the young corners, J.K. Johnson and also Jordan Hancock, were two of the guys that were recognized as most improved. I know I'm going to forget some guys, but it was good to see those guys get recognized. They, both put their work in last year. J.K. got the shoulder, and Jordan spent some time on a scout team and really worked hard, and they really put a great off season in. So I know they're looking forward to get on the field and practicing here.
And in terms of leadership, I know you have a couple captains coming back. But are there any other guys that you've really seen so far this offseason step up and really take on leadership roles?
Yeah, so what we did in the offseason, not to get into too much of what we did, we decided that leadership was the number one thing we needed to get done in this offseason. And so through a process, we ended up explaining to everyone what leadership was, asked who wants to be the leaders of the team. They then volunteered. We then voted, had a voting system to vote guys onto a leadership committee. We voted 24 guys onto those on that leadership committee. And then during the off-season program, we assigned 12 squads. And in those 12 squads, 2 leaders were assigned to each of those groups. And through that 7-week period, we really forged a lot of leadership throughout the group. And there was a lot of ways that Coach Mick and our strength and conditioning staff did that. A lot of competition. If somebody was late, there was community service on the weekend for the whole group. And so a lot of accountability, a lot of feedback. And I think this is probably the best we've done in an off-season of forging leadership. And that was a group of 24. Not that all 24 were great leaders. Some of them were, some of them weren't. But there was a lot more leadership based on what we did the last 7 weeks than we've had in a while, and that was encouraging.
Right in front of Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, kind of building off that. How much, did you sense that as a need coming in after last year? Because, leadership, you had some leaders, but maybe not enough. Did you sense that?
Yes. Yep, and I think part of it was just how young we were. We were really green, and guys were just trying to get lined up and play and do well. But when you have a team who has the experience we have coming back, now you can put some more focus on leadership. And that's what happened in the second half of the Rose Bowl. Is the leadership stepped up at halftime. We didn't have that in the Team Up North game. It's just the truth. And so when you think about some of the games we've had here, like the Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin, we're kind of reeling at halftime. We come out and play really well in the second half. There's going to be opportunities like that, and we really wanted to kind of focus on that over the last 7 weeks and try to create as many of those situations as possible that when we get our backs up against the wall, we need guys to step up. And so that's been a focus and identification. I think we've really made a lot of progress there, but the proof will be in the pudding here moving forward.
And in terms of today, obviously you weren't in pads. It's the first time out here. You can't know a whole lot, but did you, just from your first impressions, did you sense anything different, just a vibe, with the new coaches of defense, or just anything in general?
I mean, it was a start, like you said. It wasn't pads or anything, so we'll see. The newness of day one is always, something that's pretty, uniform across the board. Guys are hustling and everything like that, but we'll find out. The good news is, you don't have to teach everybody where to go and practice or where to huddle and all those type of things. Now on defense, that was all fresh and new, and I thought it was well organized for day one. But there's a lot of familiar faces out there, which is a little bit more of a comforting feeling than we did at this point last year.
And one quick one on Cam Babb. What kind of role do you think he can play this year? Is he fully healthy?
Yeah, I mean, right now he's full go, and I could talk for hours about Cam Babb and what he's done, being a captain and everything he's been through. And so, we're Cam Babb fans around here. Everybody loves Cam, and he's had a really good practice today, and so we'll just keep pushing forward. And if he can stay healthy, he's going to have an impact on this offense for sure.
Got time for just a couple more. Right next door, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Ryan, you've talked about toughness being a cornerstone, and maybe that was the principal criticism after a couple of losses, certainly Michigan. How have you tried to up that issue, and maybe it's tied into leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot that goes with that. We certainly played tough in a lot of spots this year, but there were times where we didn't, and but that again goes back to the off-season program, and it goes back to leadership, and that's where we've been really focused our time over the last 7 weeks.
Right behind him, final questions come from Tim May, Letterman Row.
Yeah, Ryan, as you watch as you look at there today, and you're watching the defense, how curious are you about what's going on over there? If you follow, I know you're the head coach and running the offense, but what did you just notice about that's different about the stand-up Leo guy? I don't know how much y'all even got into that, but how curious are you about what you're watching there?
I mean, you can tell it's very well organized, and it's very well thought out, and there's a reason for everything. And I just like how everything's systematic about how they teach, and you can give different looks for the quarterbacks, and I think that's it's a good challenge for CJ, and it's a good challenge for us. But you can see where if you're not prepared for it, it can really give you some strange looks. But at the same time, the guys are well taught and they're playing with really good technique. So at the end of the day, it's about, pad level, defeating blocks, and tackling. And I think that's the combination that so far we're seeing, but, got a long way to go, is, the schematic challenges that you see, but also being fundamentally sound and being well coached.
And what told you that Jim Knowles could be a good teacher? Like you just talked about a while ago, a lot of people are smart, but they can't teach. I mean, what just was a tip-off as you were looking at him that he was a good teacher?
Just calling and asking around. I had a long conversation with Coach Cutcliffe. Was unbelievable just being able to share with me, and that conversation was something I really appreciated. But in that conversation, he just kind of explained what exactly we're seeing right now, and a couple people that knew him and worked with him, and just ask enough about people who have worked with him. You really learn about people when you're with them every single day, which is what we do during the season, and you just have to call and ask around the people who have been around the most.
Hey, one other quickie. I would think the loss of Josh Proctor when it came last year so early was a big blow to this defense, what he maybe brought. Are you already projecting seeing him on the field again, even though he can't necessarily go full go throughout spring? I mean, just what would his presence, I guess, mean to this defense?
Well, we have a lot of safeties now who have played because of last year and because Josh wasn't around. So there's some experience back there, which is good. That I think maybe, when Josh went down early in the season, there was a little bit of a panic, but some guys stepped up and did some really good things. So it certainly will be great to get him back and get him healthy again. But we also have some other guys back there that have had really good off seasons and played well last season. Not good enough, but that's another year under their belt, and so they'll come back and be stronger this year. So we have created a little bit of depth there, but we all know what Josh can do, so it'll be exciting to get him back.
Great. Coach, thank you.